Hey guys, Lex here, back for more of the Great Ace Attorney. Last time we started the second episode, and we're about to start our first Great Deduction of this game. So yeah, let's go. So my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes, Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Yay! The Great Deduction, the game is afoot. Topic 1. Cause of Death. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful, indubitably. Why is the soap set so purposely upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact. Yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course. The fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in deadly battle for his life. The struggle against the hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soap is besmirched by a foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Poisoning from soap ingestion. Suicide or murder. The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall the death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now, at the time of the incident, this door was locked, and the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on its way to the hereafter. Locker mystery. No possible perpetrator present. Oh, good. He's innocent. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' Great Deduction. Yay! Case closed, boys. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It's quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It's a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. How extraordinary. In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut.
And did it?
After you puke? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spit the contents out of my stomach, yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't even eat it, even if you did.
Something that troubles me as well, actually.
Oh, what's that?
It's Mr. Natsume.
Ah!
I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deductions touch a nerve somehow. No, it's...
Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last.
I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the great detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth.
Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it in at an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do.
Yes, we must pick out the key words in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions, and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. We could do that. Sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place.
In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes, Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Yeah, course correction. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Cause of death. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us that the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap, meaningful indubitably. Why is this set so purposeful upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Well, you can't deny that the fork implies the man was eating something, or about to eat something.
Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat soap, I should prefer to use a fork than attempt it with a chopstick.
Of course, only half a bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate soap. Soap's right there. What is this? Oh, it's just his hat. Just that soap? That's it? Okay. Look, there's more soap on the floor there. Mr. Shamspeare must really have loved this stuff.
Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruto. Look closely at the soap. You see that it would fit together perfectly with the half bar on the table?
What the? How could that be?
I think that they are 2 halves of the same bar that broke apart.
Okay. I'll present.
Take that!
The other piece of soap. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course. The other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table, in short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no dose of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. That begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there are no signs of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruto, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London victim's foul soap is besmirched by a foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument then.
Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it.
If soap in London is this poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it. But there are no signs of any food in this room at all.
Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it?
Okay. I meant to present. Yes, a Western vessel for the serving of infusions of dried tea leaves.
It's a teacup, Mr. Naruto, as you well know. Stop putting on airs. And it's empty.
We've already established the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence to suggest that he was drinking tea.
My thoughts exactly.
Come on.
Take that!
Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. And it would appear that the victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room, which leads us to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Wow. Poison in the tea. Solved. Suicide or murder? The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where the poet pondered the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. The Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our deduction so far.
Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspeare was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that. What troubles me
is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes suggest it. There's more to this deduction than it seems.
We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for some more clues.
Okay. It's not the... Wait, he has another teacup? What the f... It's another Western vessel for it. It's a teacup!
And it too is empty.
Given that he's actually holding this one in his hand,
You could assume that this is the cup from which Mr. Shamspeare was actually drinking.
But if that's the case, this changes everything. Everything we've deduced up to now is turned on its head. I have a bad feeling about this. I almost don't want to say it.
Yes, I know exactly how you feel.
Mr. Natsume. This other. Did the man dine and die alone? The other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. In other words, this is a strong indication that at the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. It's, what's his name again? Mr. Freeman or something like that? At the very least, we could say now with certainty that somebody else was here in this room last night, taking tea with the victim. What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. You mean to say, you know who exactly was in this room at the time of the victim's death? Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Not sure I like where this deduction is going now.
I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the halcyon days of eating too much soap.
But The identity of the guest who was here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about.
Well, you could try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruto.
No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. What does it say? Pile of books. Candle. Is there only... Oh! What's this? Pile of books. At first glance, it seems that only things in this room are makeshift stage-driven costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially.
Wonder what they are. Let's see, the tiles read. Picture of Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and Ilfra Gaborio.
Oh, those are the books Natsume had. Wait, I'm sure I've heard those tiles before.
Could just be an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day.
What? Yes, the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. Sosuke-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them. That's right.
Now those 3 tiles are here in the room of the victim.
Yet Mr. Natsume claims never to have been here before. What does this mean, do you think?
I really don't know what to make of it.
Pile of familiar books.
Take that!
Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. It's no mere coincidence that these 3 tiles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. Ah! Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at the second-hand shop.
That's just a coincidence.
In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 tiles from your own room, will you not? This very moment. I have to stop by the bookstore real quick.
No, never. Non-negotiable.
If you can't bring your own copies here, it proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Oh man. Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there's only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in the room last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor... was you, Mr. Sosuke Natsume. Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Sholmes' Great Deduction. Sosuke Natsume at the scene. Deduction complete. Elementary.
Not again, not again, not again. Not again.
Well then, Mr. Natsume. It would appear you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard. Again.
But, boy. Hold your horses.
Yes.
Door, key, locked, entry, exit entirely impossible.
He's so flustered, he's being even stranger than usual. What? Think that's an alibi? You could have just made a copy.
What?
You live in the same building after all. You'd have plenty of opportunity, I'm sure.
But... Misery me!
Sorry, sir, but you'll get your chance to give your side of the story later. The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache. You
horrible hairlock Shams.
He really has found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he? Come now, no dilly-dallying. Outside, there's a carriage waiting.
Welcome to the Dorado, Esquire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but... You have to help me, please. I'm innocent.
Alright, understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it.
And one more thing.
Oh, yes?
My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me.
And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken, Sosuke-san found himself once again the prime suspect in a case of murder. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. Good job, Naruhodo. Well, at least that means Inspector Gregson is no longer here. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now.
Yes, that's right. And of course.
What?
You've forgotten what the inspector mentioned before. It was the landlord, Mr. Garadev, who discovered Mr. Shamspeare.
Ah, Mr. John Garadev, yes.
Expect we could find him in the sitting room on the top floor as usual.
Right, must remember to go and talk to him later then. Let's go left to right.
This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it?
Where does the audience sit, though, for the nightly Shakespeare performances?
Actors aspiring to the great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruto, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the defense in your office.
What?
And you could practice your art every single day.
Huh. I'll think about it. If you promise to don a beard and play the role of the judge.
Oh, well, if that would help you achieve your goal.
This I have to see. Huh. This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall.
Gas lights, gas stove. London really is a city of gas.
But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Garadev had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they?
Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there.
Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. So much cozier. Huh? And here we have another disproportionately large machine. This looks like a meter of some kind.
Ah, this is a gas meter, I think. Seems that in this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins.
Ah, I see. Yes, now that you pointed it out. You can see that there's a slot here that looks just like it would take a coin. So you mean if you put a coin in here?
That's right. That would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating.
So if you were a poor person with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold.
Yes. Or if you were scatterbrained with no change because you forgot to change your money at the bank.
Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. And I could probably use a screwdriver and get that open.
Ah, we've seen from the outside, the window is completely bricked up. Vestige of a former window tax that Britons had to pay.
What strange things they used to tax in Great Britain. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in the property is extraordinary.
It's heartbreaking to think of the poor people having to block up their windows just to avoid an unaffordable tax. Oh,
What is it, Mrs. Sato?
look closely. A number of bricks are loose.
More soap. Oh yes, it looks as though an amateur has broken out of the few of them just here. Was it Mr. Shamspeare who did it? I wonder, being the lodger renting the room.
Oh, look at this, Mr. Naruto. The outside, there's a little edge. There's something on it.
What? Outside?
It's so cold outside. You could feel it through the sky.
It did snow all last night. It would be cold. But more importantly, what is on the ledge out there? What are those snow-covered lumps?
It's more bars of soap.
Soap? What are bars of soap lining up on the ledge outside the window?
I have no idea. But the pair of them look rather charming like that.
Still, that's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window? I think perhaps we should take one. There are two after all.
Oh dear. Suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at the soap.
Ah,
You see in the middle here? There's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but
some sort of fancy design, I suppose. Only in Great Britain.
looks like the Hinomara flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand.
Expensive. And what's it doing in this ramshackle old room? Our soap. Take a look at it.
This part is different color. It's an exquisite design, isn't it?
Trust the British to turn a boring bar of soap into something special.
Quite like it. It's the Hinomara design of the Japanese flag. Expect this is rather expensive for soap.
That doesn't seem likely, given who it belongs to. Be something. Actually, let's look at the court record. Sado 16, Iris 10, 34, 20, 33, 44. Look at these extravagant, bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room, with its grim, shady goings-ons.
This one looks like a king's attire.
King? I've always dreamt of being a king.
Oh, I think it'd be more suited to a feudal lord. Daimyo or such like.
With a chonmuge top knot? Every Japanese man wishes he had a chonmuge.
Do they? Oh, you'd look wonderful with one. And you already have the sword.
Can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a chonmuge and a sword? Yeah, they'd call the police.
There's not much on these shelves, is there? Just this wine glass and bottle. And both of them are cracked.
Yes, not much use, are they? What's the matter?
Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all.
Prosecutor Lord Van Zeeks?
Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it's a waste and that he should donate some to the needy.
I could suggest it next time we meet. Yeah. What? Oh, there.
What's this?
Looks like part of an envelope, I think.
Yes, I think you may be right. Perhaps it was torn off when the letter was opened.
Is that significant?
Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps, when you look around the room. There's no sign of a letter or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there?
Ah, she's right.
Yet, here we have a torn-off end of an envelope. Just strikes me as unusual.
I agree. We better take this just in case. Okay, time to look at it. Whoever opened this envelope didn't even bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they?
So yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. Judging from the angle of this rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. This is Sado.
I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
You can never read too much of it, Mr. Naruto. Never!
You Anything in between? Nah. Okay. And I think that's it. Down to the body.
Oh, the poor man. So young to die. Do you suppose it was a very painful death being poisoned as he was?
I don't know. All I could do now is hope that he'll be reborn into a better life.
Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder. Do you think that putting our hands together in a Japanese prayer will help a British soul?
Sorry?
Made sure I had a reference to the readiness for such an occasion of this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed the British Way. I'll just reread it now, one moment.
There's quite a spine in that book, isn't there?
One of the teacups that Mr. Shamspeare and his guest drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruto. There's bitter poison inside.
Not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty.
That's true. So, one was Mr. Shamspeare's. The other must be the cup Mr. Natsume was drinking from.
But Saseki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we could examine them in more detail later. Yeah. With the analysis scope. Oh, I guess I examined everything. Looks like you're having a good snoop around, eh?
Inspector Gregson, but back so soon.
Am I arrested? After I threw the little Japanese fella in the clink, I went and reported this to the investigation division. 5 minutes time, the place will be cordoned off by the yard. Oh, I see. Well, better be leaving then. Let me take these evidence with us.
Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low, being back in the salon so soon.
Can I take a look at the teacups? Oh, I can. Oh. This teacup, this must be the teacup Mr. Shamspeare was drinking from then. Stained on the inside.
Tea does that, I'm afraid. Even green tea.
Oh, really? I've never noticed before.
Never noticed?
Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it?
Oh dear, so many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture. And most of them are Japanese.
This one doesn't have anything.
This is the teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking.
Yes, and unlike the other one, the inside of this cup is completely clean.
I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark.
I always gulp it down too.
Sorry, Mr. Naruto.
Well, if you just sip it a little by little, it goes cold.
Clearly I shall have to instruct you on the proper way to drink tea.
Fingerprints. Okay. Cool.
Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low, being back in the cell again so soon.
Oh. Is he alive? I'm sure we should probably go and... What's wrong, Mr. Naruto?
Yeah!
I guess I have to voice him again. Out, out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player. That struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next part? It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Indeed, oh happy day. What? Walking Dead. Is he actually dead? No one took a pulse. The fella isn't dead at all. What was that nonsense he was saying though? It's Shakespeare.
Yes, it's from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5.
Shakespeare? So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, came back to life. The man had indeed been poisoned. It transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken to the emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment. Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime, whatever that now was. What the hell? Hey, it's that guy. And these are all the people I was wondering about. Alright, I think an episode here, and then next time we'll continue the investigation. Thanks for watching. See ya. Bye.